Hello chess friends and welcome to Out of Chess channel and welcome to the most epic game from the FIDE Candidates Tournament in 2022. We have here the former World Championship challenger Nepomniachtchi against probably the most talented player in the world, Alireza Firouzja. In my opinion, this was one of the best games of the event so far, maybe even the best game. If you watch now this game, I think you really change your opinion about the Najdorf Sicilian. The Najdorf is really such a sharp and beautiful opening, but it has so many complications. If you make a slight inaccuracy, the game can go into a different direction. So that's why I always avoided the Najdorf Sicilian in my career, and I really don't feel comfortable with it, because even if you have sometimes a good position, sometimes you can mess it up with just one inaccuracy, with that just one tempo. So that's why I prefer more solid games. So we'll see now how really bad the Najdorf Sicilian can become. So let's check out now the game. As I said, this is really a brilliant game. So here e4 was played by Nepomniachtchi. We have c5 by Alireza. We have knight to f3, d6 the modern Sicilian, d4, c takes d4, knight to d4, knight to f6, and after move knight to c3. Here Alireza has of course the flexibility to play many things. g6, e5, a6, knight to c6 is also an opportunity, but here Alireza plays immediately the move a6, which is now the beautiful Najdorf Sicilian. And okay, what to do here? Many times white is playing this idea: f3, g4, h4, h5, g5, similar idea. So white is trying many times to attack the king side. Black will also have his fun while attacking the queen side, of course, with the move b5. So in the continuation, we have e5 immediately by Alireza, knight to b3, bishop to e6, bishop to e3, bishop to e7, queen to d2, and after king side castling here, also queen side castling was played by Nepomniachtchi, and we have reached now really the most popular line of the Najdorf Sicilian. And what to say about this position? We have to really understand this position, because it's very important for the continuation of the game. This is now a position where the kings are on opposite sides, where we have this opposite side castling game, where you should attack your opponent's king, and who is faster in this attack will probably win the game. When you're attacking your opponent's king, from black perspective, as we said, with the move b5, from white's perspective with the move g4, you want to be fast. You don't want to lose any tempi. You want to play forcing or threatening moves. So you want to keep your opponent busy, you want to keep your opponent occupied, and what you don't want to lose is lose tempi, but you don't want to also play two passive moves. Maybe you can play a couple of passive moves if you're maybe slowing down your opponent's attack. So at least if you're defending yourself, you should slow down your opponent's pace. Maybe you can do this with potential h5 moves in order to maybe stop the g4 move. You know what I'm thinking. So maybe with the move h5 you can slow down at least your opponent's progress. Although you didn't play the move b5, but you can maybe slow down at least his progress. So these are the rules of this opposite side attack games. You should not forget about this, because as I said, in this game these rules will be very important. So in the continuation, after queenside castling, we have knight to d7, here played by Alireza. We have g4, and you see now b5. Both of these players have now attacked their opponent's side of the board. So here in the continuation, we have g5. Also Alireza plays a beautiful counterattack, so he's not losing any tempo, and that's exactly how you should play this opposite side attack game. So both of them have now pieces hanging. So in the continuation, we have knight to e2. Here g takes f6 doesn't make so much sense, because of course black has also a beautiful counterattack, b takes c3 with a direct threat against the queen, then queen to c3, knight to f6, and now black could also have fun with the move d5. We should also not forget one of the main strategic goals here for black could be also d5 breakthrough. If black manages to do d5 in a beautiful way, then black has I think a beautiful game. So here in the continuation, knight to e2 was played by Nepomniachtchi. We have knight to e8, and now f4 immediately here by Nepomniachtchi. If you take now e takes f4, bishop to f4, I still think that the pawn on d6 is a little bit weak. You could maybe cement the position with the move e5, but that's exactly what I meant. You lost the tempo, sort of. You didn't attack further. Now white should be much faster. h4, h5, even g6 maybe is an opportunity, because also one important rule in this opposite side attack games is that you can even sacrifice some pawns. What you want to do is just you open the position against your opponent's king, even if you have to sacrifice 1 pawn, 2 pawns, but you want to create open files and open diagonals against the king. So I still think that white should be much faster in his attack here. So that's why after move f4, here Alireza Firouzja didn't react. He played simply on his side the attack, which is of course perfectly fine. He threatening also now the move a4. Now we have f5, and now comes what is in my opinion the first inaccuracy. Although this line has been played many times in chess history, I still don't like this line, because now suddenly Alireza stopped. You have this opportunity. You can of course play bishop to b3, as we said in the beginning of the video. You want to play threatening, forcing moves. You want to keep your opponent busy. Now your opponent has to take, and then you have an extra tempo. If you play bishop to c4 like Alireza did, you are not threatening anything. So that's the problem about this position. You can also play a4 here. You have created again a counter attack. At least you're keeping your opponent busy. Now maybe after f takes e6, we can also take here a takes b3. If you take of course here with the pawn, then here this is not possible, because of course we take out first here the knight, and still we can escape. But you can of course play f takes e6, and everything is glued together. I think this is a solid position for black. White should be maybe slightly better, but black has also opportunities on this file, on the c file, so this is I think playable for black. So what I mean about this position is with the move a4, at least you're threatening something. Now after move bishop to c4, this was the first passive move, as I said, played by Alireza Firouzja, and now again here Jan Nepomniachtchi is on the move, and Nepo played here really brilliant move. He played king to b1, although it's not maybe the most the suggested move by top engine. The top engine for instance suggests this move knight to g3, but I like the move king to b1 here, because you have a beautiful square now for the knight in order to escape, and the knight is then a good defender here in front of the king. So we have now a4, knight to c1, and here after move d5 now comes really a beautiful theoretical novelty, because this position has been reached now many times in chess history, but actually this position that Nepo will play now has never been played. But actually here Nepo played the correct move. Remember what we said, you want to create simple threats here, you want to create at least some kind of an activity, even if you have to sacrifice some pawns. So that's why the next Nepo's move makes really sense, because he played now f6, and f6 is opening the position. As we said, you want to open files, open diagonals in front of your opponent's king. Now with move f6, mission accomplished. Although the engine likes here both positions, the engine gives here equal chances for both sides, but I still like more white's position, because white cracked the position earlier, white opened the position early, and now from this point on I think white is the only fun here in this potential game. So after move f6, we have here g takes f6. If you take e takes d5 here in this position, if you don't play this move f6, then of course here black can regroup with this knight to d6 move. So that's why this move f6 makes sense, because you make your opponent here react. Really beautiful ideas here by Nepo. So we have g takes f6, g takes f6, knight to f6. Okay, we have lost the pawn, but look at this now, the g file is open. This is a beautiful activity. The bishop can be included into the game. We have also d file attack. White also lost here a little bit the connection between the pieces on the 8th rank. Maybe some d file attacks are possible. So suddenly I think Nepo is taking over and has now really fun in this game. So here in the continuation we have knight to g3, and again sort of a move that I really didn't like by Alireza. He played again bishop to f1. Although it's a forced threatening move, but now you just improve your opponent's piece. Now the rook is coming into the game really actively. Rook to f1, and look at this now, the f5 is weak. Again, also you have several dark square problems. So maybe a better idea is now, instead of this move bishop to f1, to play here knight to d6. This is a perfect blockade idea. I still think that this is a good move, because first of all we have now good control with both of this knight in the center of the board. You're improving simply the piece, and now you have also beautiful connection on the 8th rank, which is very important. You see also in the continuation of the game why is it so important. So now at least the pieces are again glued together here by black. In the continuation of the game you could try maybe some ideas of bishop to h6, but now actually what black should do, maybe Alireza missed this move, king to h8, because here bishop to f8 doesn't make sense at all, because you can take bishop to f8, you can even take your bishop to c4, but notice that black didn't take. There is also this beautiful quote, to take is a mistake. Now, for instance, if white takes here in this position, knight to c4 is going to happen, and the queen has to retreat now. Then we can play a3, and now suddenly the bishop could be a good piece. So maybe, as we said, knight to d6, slightly better, but here Alireza played bishop to f1, basically invited now the rook into the game, and from this point on I still think that Nepo has a great position. He has now really the control of the board. There is also the problem, you cannot even play d takes e4, you cannot even trade off the queens on the d file. It's not the problem that you lose some material here on the d file, the problem is also this attack, queen to g2, and now we're threatening really some discoveries. You have to escape, for instance, then rook takes d8. Look at this, you have to lose the queen. If you don't of course escape here with the king on the g file, if you move the queen, then of course knight to f5 is going to happen, and you have really positional problems here. So it's not so easy for black to play the game. I still think that something went wrong here in Alireza's game, maybe in his preparation. I'm not sure, but from this point on, a really good game for Nepo. So a3, the only move that makes some kind of a reaction here by black. A3, of course, here b3 played by Nepo. He's passing through, and he has now a solid game here also on the queen side. We have king to h8. Again, d takes e4 is not working because queen takes d8 can now be played. Rook take knight to f5. Look at this, the bishop is hanging. For instance, if you take rook to d1, also knight to e7, sort of efficient. So we have here, then we can take out the rook. So again, a bad game. So even if you take out with the knight here, the pawn on e4, again knight to e4, d takes e4, again queen to g2. Look at this again with this check, and you lose the queen. So you can really never take in the center. That's the point about the sequences. That's why I'm showing this one, because probably many of us would consider some d file clarifications, but actually they're not possible here for black. So in the continuation, as we said, b3, nothing can happen in the center. So that's why here king to h8, Alireza gets out of the potential g file attack, but now finally e takes d5, and here Nepo has now really powerful pawn. He has now really control in the center of the board. And now comes what is the critical moment, I think, of the game. Here Alireza played a very careless move, knight to d6, and it seems so many occasions this would be a perfect move, and as we said, you should even sacrifice sometimes some pawns in order to open files. But with the move b3, I think that the b3 pawn is perfectly fine. It's well protected, first of all, by the knight and by these two pawns. So even if we take and the b file get open, I'm not seeing good ways how black should make that happen, because we have a perfect control of the b3 square. Now with the move knight to d6, what Alireza actually did, he gave up just a pawn without any compensation. The better idea is maybe to play just a slow move, queen to c7. Then of course we here have this opportunity, rook takes f6, because after bishop to f6, knight to d3 can happen, and also d6 is really wild move. So we have here really fun with the d file pawn. So it was maybe also something that Alireza considered. Maybe he was scared about this kind of tactical sequences. It's really unclear what would happen, of course, because also we have to say this bishop gets better and better in the position, but d6 is, I think, a problem that has to be solved in the continuation of the game. So but what Alireza, instead of this move queen to c7 played, he played now knight to d6, and Nepo accepted the challenge. He simply took queen takes b4. No discoveries are possible. You cannot play here knight to f5. We have simply this idea. We have d6, even if you take here knight to d6, we have here bishop to c5, and you're the one that you're pinned here on the d file. Look at this, even rook to f6 is an opportunity in the near future. So it's game over here for black. So really wild stuff. So after move queen to b4, Alireza played rook to c8, and now beautiful move here by Jan Nepomniachtchi, bishop to b6. And also one target that we have here is the weak e5 pawn. If we grab the e5 pawn, then black is also vulnerable here on dark squares. In the continuation here, Alireza had to play queen to d7. We have queen to e1 now. Here Nepo continues the pressure around the square e5. We have rook to b8, and now a beautiful move. This was, I think, the best move here by Jan Nepomniachtchi in the game. He played a beautiful bishop to a5. What's the goal about this move? Because obviously knight to c4 is going to happen. This was the only tactical threat here by Alireza Firouzja, but Nepo calculated this really in a beautiful way. He plays now the move d6, because if you play here knight to d6, that's not possible. You get knight to f5 and you lose the game. If you take even here with the bishop to d6, then you lose the rook, pardon me, the knight here on f6. So you can maybe take out also here the piece, but we can still have this move, and then of course white is better with the extra piece. So after move d6 that Nepo played here, we have here bishop to d8 and now bishop to c3, but as we said, now you lose simply the battle here around the square e5. So in the continuation we have queen to e6, knight to d3, continue the pressure here against this pawn on e5, knight to d5, and now a beautiful move here by Nepo, knight to f4, attacking the queen. If you take of course knight to c3, then we can play queen takes c3. Still you have to escape, but look at this now, the knight is coming into the game, this knight is coming into the game, this pawn is weak. We can also attack maybe the knight further. It's I think a position that black can resign. So after move knight to f4, here Alireza played knight to f4, rook to f4, and here f6. There is also a beautiful sequence if you play something like rook to g8, maybe if you want to cover your g7 further. Look at this, what could happen. Black can be challenged in this way, rook takes c4, you can even take queen to c4, but look at this now, queen to e5, you can create this dangerous check, and even after f6 you can even sacrifice the queen. Look how beautiful this position for white is. Many dirty traps can happen here. So after move bishop to f6, look at this, bishop to f6, you have to cover with the rook. Now d7 is going to happen. Really immortal tactics. Even if you bring the queen in between, now d8 we have the promotion. For instance, you do this. So queen to d8, now we have bishop to d8, we can also then afterwards take out this pawn. It's a completely lost game here for black. So as we said, after move rook to f4, you have to be careful what you do. So that's why f6 here, Alireza tried to cover himself at least somehow on this long diagonal, but the Nepo played the calm game, played queen to e2, attacking the knight to b2, and now rook to f1, simply continuing now the pressure. You can really never take here of course the rook, because you're vulnerable here on the e file. So we have rook to e8, we have rook to h4, f5, and now comes again a beautiful move by Nepo. This was really a beautiful game by Nepo, we have to say it. Here if you put now this game into an engine, here I think Nepo played 97% of stockfish moves. Really brilliant performance. He played now a stunning rook takes h7. Great tactics. You have to react, of course. King to h7, now queen to h5. The queen comes really in a beautiful game into the game. The rook is also hanging. For instance, if you try queen to h6 to cover yourself, it's not so dangerous, because of course queen to e8, and now the game is over. You can maybe try to escape, but look at this, the f5 is weak, e5 is weak. We can also try rook to f5, then follow with rook to h5, trapping the queen. So it's a position that black could resign. So in the continuation, after queen to h5 here, Alireza tried king to g8, knight to f5, getting the knight into the game. We have bishop to f6, and now after move rook to g1, king to f8, and after queen to h6, in this position Alireza resigned. What's the point? You can have here this move, king to f7. We have rook to g7, for instance. You have maybe this move, but you can also get checkmated. Even if you take, of course, here then with queen to g7, it's again a beautiful checkmate. So brilliant, brutal game here by Nepo, really destroying the knight off like this. Although we have to say Alireza played really a couple of inaccuracies in the beginning, but please really consider this opposite side attack games. Don't play two passive moves. I think the first really mistake was after move, let's go back here, after move f5, this move bishop to c4. You can take, I think, bishop to b3, or you're playing counter attack. That's the beauty about this opposite side attack games. You have to be active with the move bishop to c4. Here it's almost like Alireza allowed Nepo an extra tempo, and now Nepo played at least king to b1. At least he improved his position with the king, although probably knight to g3 is slightly more accurate, and still you can play h4 h5. Still I think that white should be slightly better here, and also can attack the position much easier than black. So Okay, great game. I think this was the best game so far from this event. Really brilliant performance by Nepo. Congratulations. He's now the leader of this tournament, as he has he's the only one that has now 2 wins. Behind him is I think Fabiano Caruana. So far it's a beautiful tournament. We'll see now what happened, but so far now everyone is chasing Nepo. So okay, I hope that you enjoyed the game. I really enjoyed it a lot. Interesting ideas of the Najdorf. If you want to see some other games that we have covered so far, check out also my coverage. Here's the link, and if you like this content, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. See you soon with some more videos, and chess is the best, of course.